Today's verse of the day, Psalms chapter 62, verses 5 and 6. Yes, my soul find rest in God. My hope comes from him. Truly, he is my rock and my salvation. You must be at peace with your journey. Be peaceful on your journey. Don't stress. Don't worry. Don't get consumed in fear and uncertainty when things are not going the way you anticipate them to go. Sometimes God's going to force you to trust him and lean on him and use him as a resource to guide your way through the darkness, because there will be moments where it's dark and there will be moments where things are not clear as day and just the certainty's not there, and there's little hope, but that little hope is what you need to have in God. And don't lose that ever, because the moment you lose that, that's the moment when all things that were possible are no longer possible, because with God anything is possible. So you got to keep that hope strong as possible, and also keep it there as long as possible, really for the rest of your life, as long as you can and as long as you live, to have that hope in the things that you're pursuing to work out for you the way that God has it intended for you to work out. So with that being said, let's get to the charts. What's good, y'all? Welcome back. All right, here we have the SPY charts loaded up on the Monday 5-minute time frame. So Monday we had some interesting price action coming into the opening week. We were opening around that 685 level, which was the previous level of demand, and we were actually rejecting from 687, coming off of a pretty strong week where we rejected from 690, going back down to the 686 level. We rejected from 686 on the opening bell, going back down to 685, where we then formed a very tight orb range, and I saw a initial wick come in, indicating a failure to go lower. So I took calls with a base level stop loss below this orb low here, and I predetermined that I was just going to stop out if it didn't go higher after the second candle, because off of this previous wick alone it should have just took off instantly, but it did not do so. And so I went ahead and stopped out early, and my conviction was that we were then forming lower lows and not forming higher highs. So I went ahead and took puts going into this EMA cloud here off of the rejection of 685.7, and my target was about 684. So we caught the entry here. We got a rejection from that level going back down to 684, where we then ended up taking profits all the way down here at 683.88. Very smooth move, very clean trading. Risk management was very tight, so I was very happy with my execution on the day for Monday, and great start to the week. So let's move on to Tuesday. All right, you guys, here we have the Tuesday charts loaded up. As you guys see, we were back on the SPY chart 5-minute time frame. So today, on Tuesday, we had some very slow and very small range bound price action coming in, ranging from 683 to about, 682.60 to about 685.40. We were range bound about $3 roughly. Pretty much our plays that we took on this day was a very tight bounce off of the orb high and this EMA level, getting a very small move from this candle here back up, and then we took profits, and it was pretty much a scalp essentially because of how slow the price action was, slow and low the price action was. And then I tried to take puts after we got failure back below this EMA cloud and also failure below this orb level, but it was just a fake out candle due to the slow low volume and the very small range bound price action. So those are the two trades I took. Overall, we ended the day green. Did give back some gains after the second trade, but we were able to come out on the day green on this trade. So nonetheless, I wasn't too upset about it, but let's move on to Wednesday and see what we took Wednesday. We have the Wednesday charts loaded on the Meta, ticker symbol META 5-minute time frame. As you guys see, we set up our orb levels between 654 and 646. Once we set our orb levels up, we were seeing some rejection off the orb lows come in, and we were getting a bounce from orb lows going back into orb highs. So I took a position here off this level of 649 after we got the failure to go lower below that level. Use that level as a stop loss. I did stop out early, however, we did see about 15%, but my entry was very, very light. I did take some profits, but not a lot of profits. I still had a majority of my size because I wanted to add more if we came back lower. We did come back lower, but it ended up faking me out due to the decay on the contracts. And then once I saw this candle fail to go lower, I got back in it and used this EMA level as a stop loss because I saw we were failing to close below that level. We were able to then push back into new highs, claiming about 20%, and I ended up taking profits here, holding some runners using a stop loss back below that EMA level. We ended up moving the EMA up a little bit, so I did end up stopping out here once we got this failure or closed back below the EMA. So it was a very simple trade. Once again, kind of small price action movement. Meta tends to have larger moves depending on how much volumes in the trading session. So this was one of those trading sessions that was a lot slower and a lot less volume, but we were able to capitalize and make something out of this position. So I was very happy with the execution on that. Let's move on to Thursday and talk about the trades we took Thursday. Here we have the Thursday's charts loaded up. First off, we're going to start with Palantir, ticker symbol PLTR, 5-minute time frame. So on Thursday, we had some interesting price action coming in. We actually had some volume kicking in, I believe, after Wednesday. The Wednesday, there was a Fed meeting where the Fed Chair Jerome Powell announced the Fed rate hike, if he was cutting interest rates or not, and he ended up cutting interest rates. And so that priced in a little bit of momentum in the market, bringing some volume to the market on Thursday. So we had some initial failure on the initial beginning of the day. However, I did see levels that I had marked out from previous trading sessions and previous levels that I had marked, which were demand levels that we were retesting. So on Palantir, I saw a potential retest of 180-150 here, as you guys see. I took an entry at this level going into 180-150, and we ended up failing below that level, so I stopped out of it, but we did end up reclaiming. However, I did miss the reclaim because I stopped out and moved on to my next trade. So our first trade of the day that we took was Palantir. We ended up failing below our level, so I stopped out of it. I didn't catch the reclaim. However, I did catch another move on a play called NVIDIA. I'm gonna pull that up real quick. NVIDIA was showing a lot more weakness this day. Semiconductors in general was showing a lot more weakness throughout this day, so I took rejections. Actually, no, I took a reversal after we saw the failure below this 177.9 and a reclaim of this orb low level on Thursday. And I took a reclaim of this level, saw it forming higher highs here from candle to candle. So I used the previous candle low as a stop loss, and we were able to push back into the EMA and also 178.4, where I then took profits on this candle. And we saw a sharp reversal come back in the market right after we retested this level on NVIDIA. However, I was no longer looking at NVIDIA. I then moved on to another play, AMD. And from there, I saw AMD show some signs of weakness, where I then caught about a 40% banger on this reversal from 214.50. I saw the reversal kick in, and then I saw the confirmation right here. Once we showed lower lows forming back below the EMA cloud, I used that candle high as a stop loss, and we got the failure back below this EMA, pushing back down into 211.98, otherwise known as 212. We took full profits. We took most profits here. We had a runner left. We then got stopped out after we reclaimed this 213.73 level. This would have been a banger play if I was able to catch this move all the way back to the downside, because if we were weaker, we would have been able to push back to all-time lows of the day, which was 210.19, and we really would have pushed even lower, closer to 208.8. So that was our last trade that we took. So it was overall a green day, even after having a red trade on Palantir. That's the thing about trading. You guys just got to continue to push forward, continue to find opportunity, because there's always opportunity in the market. You just have to be open-minded and looking for the opportunity and finding these strategies. So those are the trades we took on Thursday. Let's move on to Friday. Hey, what's good, you guys? If you guys are new to this channel, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I would appreciate that so much. Also, check out my website, continuebelieve.com, if you guys want more information about day trading and investing, where I can share all my tips about everything I know about investing and so much more to come very, very soon. So check that out, link in the bio, or you just type www.continuebelieve.com. I'll see you guys in the next clip. Peace. Finally, we have Friday loaded up on the Meta, ticker symbol META 5-minute time frame. Initially, we had some weakness kicking into the market once we were rejecting the 652 level, going back down to 646.8, and then bouncing back above going into 650 actually. So we took puts once we got a retest of 650. However, I got stopped out of my initial play. I did get back in it and make money overall, but I initially stopped out of this position once we retested this level of 650.4. I thought that it was going to break out and go higher once we were pushing higher, but it was just a false breakout candle. And we immediately rejected right back down as we closed below that level. So I re-entered once we got the confirmed closure below, and I had confirmed risk on this trade. Used that high point as a stop loss of the 650.4. We then saw it back down to 644, where I then took profits. We got another retest back below the orb level at this point. However, I was on my way to Atlanta, and I made it to Atlanta, so I was sitting on a plane during this trade, and we were actually stuck at the gate. So I wasn't able to fully maximize the opportunity on this trade. If I had seen this retest of the orb low, I definitely would have taken it, because it's not only the orb low retest, but it's also the EMA retest as well, which is a very, very, very high level, high conviction trade for me when it comes to day trading. Anytime the orb retests the EMA alongside the orb, that is always a high conviction trade for me, especially when it's going into a major resistance level. So we were once demand that didn't turn resistance. Once we got back to the 647.20 level, saw more rejections back down, and we ended up getting all the way down to 638.6. So we were able to make money. Very, very good week overall compared to the week prior. I made the video talking about how bad the week was prior, but we made a decent comeback this week, and then we had some other ups and downs as well. But that's a part of the game. Sometimes you're gonna have ups, sometimes you're gonna have downs, sometimes you're gonna have all good days, and sometimes you're gonna have all bad days. The bottom line is you have to persevere and continue to move forward and push through. With that being said, let's move on to the SPY chart and talk about what we can possibly see happen going into this week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the SPY chart loaded up on the 4-hour time frame. So let's recap this week real quick, just for SPY. So we had a range-bound week similar to the week prior, from December 1st to December 5th, where we were ranging bound between 680 and 685. We got a break above 685 going into Friday, December 5th. Then we retested 690, got a rejection from 690, closed around 687 on Friday of December 5th. Moving into this week, we were range bound between 682 and about 686 before the Fed meeting on Wednesday. After the Fed meeting, we broke back above 687, 686, going back into 690, where we then had some decent, somewhat of a hold. But then going into Friday's session, we got a sharp rejection off of the 690 level, going all the way back down to 680 and closing out the week at 681.7. What can we look to see happen going into this week? Well, my thesis has always been for the last 2 weeks, as long as we hold 680, we're going to continue to go higher, and I still stand by that. However, given the strong rejection, we would need to see a strong push forward in order for us to get a break above that 690 level. Because bottom line is that's the all-time high level of this chart. So if we want to see higher, we have to break above 690, point blank period. So if we get a break above 690, we can then see higher, possibly going into 692, maybe even 695. Can we do it? Maybe. If, however, we get a break below 680, then it opens the door for 675 and 670. Those are the next two levels that I have charted, as you guys see. Going back down into the downside levels, if we get a break below 680, we can most likely see 675 and 670. So the levels to watch going into this week are going to be 680, depending on where we open, of course. They're going to be 680, 675, 685. We're back in that same range. So if we get a break above 685, we can then see higher going into 690. However, if we fell below 680, you can best believe we're most likely going to see 675 right after. And if, depending upon how we respond to 675, that'll be a determining factor whether we go back up or go down. So these are going to be your levels going into next week. My name is CB. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys leave a like and comment if you guys are new. Show some love and support. Subscribe to the channel, join the community, click the link in the bio if you guys want to learn more about day trading, and join our Discord as well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.